Hey guys, Jenna here. Oh my goodness, do we have the most in-depth video for you ever on how to use MidJourney video and Suno to create a music video. So I'm going to show you one that I created that was done about an abandoned circus, and then together we're going to create one that follows this crazy looking knight into a world where he's going to encounter a bunch of monsters, and we're going to create a song that's going to go with the entire video. You're going to see the entire thing from soup to nuts here on today's session. I'm so excited to share with you how to create a music video with MidJourney Video A to Z.
We used to walk here together, even with so many people. We came here to hide in any weather. Do you remember, babe? It feels so lonely here without you. The circus was the place we'd come to. The faded tent reminds me of you. How could you leave me here The circus master knows your name. The clown makes you laugh, yet I'm to blame. Why can't we go back to this place? But we can. You live in fame. It feels so lonely here without you. The circus was the place we'd come to.
Video that was about an apocalyptic circus. And I wanted to write a song that was loosely based on some not very nice person I dated a long time ago. And I wanted it to be just, I think I kind of wrote the song and made up the meaning for it afterwards. So who really knows what it's about? I was really pleasantly surprised with how MidJourney's video turned out. This is going to be a crash course. By the end of today's video, you're going to understand how to put together a music video from beginning to end. So I'm going to go ahead and go to MidJourney right now. And what you want to do when you're creating any sort of music video is you want to think about the setting, the world. What are the rules of that world? Are you doing modern time? Are you doing fantasy? Are you creating an apocalyptic world? Are you creating something? Think of the era. Think of the kind of things that you want to happen in this world, and you get to make the rules. Maybe it's going to be something where you want to do a similar video to me where it starts in one scene and it's going into different environments. I think those videos are really interesting. It's almost like first point of view videos, but a little bit different, almost kind of like a mixture between what you would see in a video game and something that's all taken in one shot. We've all seen those TV shows before, right? Where the cinematography is being done in a way where it's all done in one shot. So in MidJourney, you can find all these great examples under the Explore section of crazy things that people are doing. If you're trying to tell a story, and my motivation for originally doing this, and I did not follow my own rule in this, and you could probably make a much better video if you did, was I put all this great language in the song about certain things happening, and I totally did not follow the song in order. Like, it talks about lions when there's no lions in the scene. It talks about clowns when there's no clowns in the scene. I have those characters throughout it, but I did not time it perfectly with the music. It probably would have been a lot better if I would have done that, okay? So when you're creating your song, if you're telling a story and you want to create images that are telling that story, I highly recommend doing it in order. It could work out better for you. I don't know, short on time and trying to figure out the technology, so I wasn't really like thinking about being too perfect with it. But the first thing that you want to do is think about what kind of character you want to create. And let's say that you want to do something medieval, okay? First things first, you can come over here and I'm going to turn draft mode off here. I'm going to come over here to where it says Explorer, and I'm going to do a search for a knight, okay? just to see what types of knights are currently out there. Okay. And so as I'm scrolling through and I'm like looking through this here, there might be a character that I think is super cool. And maybe I'm not going to use that exact character, but this one's kind of interesting because he's got these like crazy rose things. Now, this could cause some problems with a character continuity simply because, as you probably even saw with my character, there were little variations that didn't keep the character consistency perfect. She did have red headphones on, but in some scenes you can't really see it. In some scenes, she's got a red bow on top of that. In some scenes, like pretty much she has boots, red boots throughout the entire thing. But in one scene, they turn into high heels. So sometimes with things that are super detailed like this, it can get a little bit muddled. Like maybe the AI might change some of those things. But just for the sake of challenging here, let's just kind of see what it does here. Okay, so if I click here and I turn, this is called omni reference. This will actually take something and turn it into a character. And let's say that I want this, I'm going to take this guy on an adventure through a crazy garden, a medieval, whimsical garden. Okay. So I'm going to put this in here. The Omni reference here, I'm going to put it about 425. Just, and actually, if I want him to keep the outfit all the way through, I could put this even higher to see how it would go. And I'm just going to type in a knight with armor, with vintage roses printed, walks through a garden of oversized roses. If I wanted to do the entire video vertical to make it work better for reels or something like that, I could keep it vertical. This is actually a fun way to do it. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and keep it vertical just because sometimes doing stuff native to the platform in terms of size can be really helpful. So let's go ahead and see what happens. So we want to start here with creating an image. And I want you to think about when you're creating different things that are happening in the story, that you are consistently trying to keep the same style, that you are going from one scene to the next that's keeping things in a similar sort of style. And even if I decide to switch locations for him and he goes from a garden into a spooky forest into something else, that he's going to, that the consistency is going to stay the same, right? So with us using the Omni reference here, we are now putting this character inside of this oversized garden. I'm not really digging the aesthetics of this so far. It's only 95% complete here. It just is, it's devs. It's might, I think he's drowning too much in it. So I'm going to go ahead and use this again. And I'm going to bump this down just a little bit, down to 400 something. And I'm going to say with Vintage Roses Printed, walks through a haunted forest with a scary moss monster. Okay. We are adding in a second character here, but let's just see what happens. So we're just going to wait for this to process real quick. Okay. So notice how this is starting to create a really interesting environment. And I'm going to go ahead and throw him now into a haunted forest with big trees and a forest ghost. We're just going to throw in a bunch of scenarios here. So it's taking the same character, putting him in different environments. Now we're going to go through and put him, walks through a misty, haunted lake with a monster in the lake. And then we're going to go ahead and do this again. So I keep clicking the use button. So it's doing this. Okay. Okay, so we're seeing here some ideas that we're just putting this together super quick, but I'm showing this to you so you can see the character consistency, see how it's carrying over the costume. It's not doing too bad of a job, actually, with keeping some of the patterns in the correct space. It's a weird idea. I don't know what this guy's story is or like why he's dressed so strange, but this is part of the excitement of being able to put this character in different environments. Okay. So we now have a whole bunch of different environments that are happening here. I don't see a Loch Ness monster here, so I'm going to go ahead and do this here. Misty Haunted Lake with a huge green dinosaur in the water. Let's just see if we can get something to come out here. I am digging the vibe of some of these images, right? And we are going to be animating them, so it is going to bring some of the stuff to life. Usually, with the more clarity, the better. And of course, if you're like some of these feel a little bit more interesting to me because there's just like a little bit more color depth and things that are going on. So, yeah, so we're seeing if we can get some things to happen here with. Yeah, so the monster's now coming out of the lake. We're now distributing that just for the sake of trying to create some sort of interesting space where it's he's going into different spaces. I'm gonna go here, see he walks through, let's see here, through a misty field with a charming cottage that has smoke coming out of the chimney. Some of these pictures are of whatever. But you could play with this and start to figure out what things are going to work here that are going to work. Let's see. We can also start to change the time of day. That can sometimes change the lighting. A lot of the reason why these are so dark is this kind of setting this at a twilight time. And these ones, since I'm not super duper impressed with how he looks here, even though the monster is getting a little bit more interesting. I'm going to go ahead and use this again and just run it again to see if we can get something better. I'm also going to bump down. Oh, it's still at 450, so that's good. Even though it's saying OmniWeight 800 the whole time, so I'm not exactly sure. Oh, it's probably because the parameter here is putting it at 800. Sometimes things can get a little bit wonky when the Omni reference is too high. So I'm just going to keep it at 400 and see if we can keep it like that. But let's go ahead and see if any of these other monster images turned out better. Let's see here. This is starting to look a little, he's starting to look a little bit better. This one's, I'm not really, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. This is a pretty cool image, actually. And let's say that I like this, but I'm not really digging the monster. I might want to do a strong variation of it and now put that in here that it's now showing shots of him like approaching and or here, and there's some things for us to start to play with that. And this is another really great shot too of this monster coming from behind here, so there might be something there. So as I go through and I'm trying to put together my music video, I want to think about maybe the order that this is going to go into, what would make the most logical sense. And so maybe he is starting in this weird sort of, he's starting in this weird sort of mossy jungle thing that's happening. All these things look like they're in the same environment, which can be very helpful from going from scene to scene. So maybe he's starting here and he's meeting this fellow, and then he's coming here and he's coming upon him. So it almost makes sense to go from here to then maybe to here, like maybe it comes alive or something. So it can be helpful if you're actually creating these images when you have an actual story in mind. I don't. I'm just throwing this together just to show you the process of it. But it should show you that it is possible to create something pretty cool with not very much time to prep or getting a quick idea out to flesh it out to see if it's a direction you want to go for a project. I'm going to go ahead and start with this one and just click and drag this to starting frame. And I want this image here to go from here to now this side image. So its ending frame is right here. And I'm just going to say, man walks in mossy forest. Now notice, I'm not having to give it a lot of description. I get to decide, do I want this to be high action or low action? Maybe I want him to start off by walking slow. So I'm just going to go ahead and click go, and it's going to start to cook. It's going to start to cook that, okay? Just for an alternative, I'm going to throw this one in here and get him to come across this monster guy. And I'm going to go ahead and have it say, man meets a moss monster in the forest, and they start dancing. Just to show you how this follows direction. Oh, actually, when I did this, I accidentally did not do this video wise. So let me see here if I can. You have to make sure you're going into starting frame to get this to go not image prompt so that it knows that you're needing an ending frame here. And then you're choosing the action for this one. I'm going to mark high. Okay. So as we're waiting for these to develop here, this first one's 68% complete. MidJourney video is going to generate 4 different video clips for you. And it does an incredible job of following direction, which is awesome. And remember that when you have a beginning shot and an ending shot, if you want to continue that story on without having to do manual extensions, which you're going to see here in just a second, if I click use, it's actually going to put that first frame shot and that second frame shot in here. And I don't know why it's not doing it in this moment, but let's just go through and look at each of these now. So we had him walk and have him come into this area. So isn't this so cool? I just want you to take for a minute to notice here the lighting changes, the character consistency, the ability how it's justifying what he's walking into without me even knowing how it was going to be justified. So that's one. This is two. So we're seeing here which of the scenes do we like better? They're pretty similar. This one, he's got a little hop in his step. This one we'll see here. Oh, now he's turning. He's like walking through and actually going into a secondary part of the garden that doesn't feel as natural. So notice how there's going to be versions that are higher quality. Oh, this one is where he actually meets the monster. So this is how it justifies this. It actually turns in the first one, the background monster is justified by something behind him turning into that, which is crazy. And then you can see here that, oh, this is going for the original one here. I think I'm just running through these in the wrong way. Okay, so it's actually justifying this as the monster in all four of the versions here, which is so crazy. It's doing it again here. That was like a very abrupt transition here. This is a very abrupt transition. This one pans over to justify how the ending scene is happening here. So really interesting ways that it's doing this. So if I wanted to continue this scene on, there's a few things that I could do. Let's say I love this, and if you guys remember in the previous thing here where I said, let's see here. Oh, it says that they start dancing, but they don't actually start dancing, right? But I like this first one because it's the smoothest transition between the first scene and the second scene here. And they don't actually start dancing. And let's say I don't have another shot to send them to where they look like they're dancing or something. I can click on this extend manually button. It will now take this video that is two actual videos, two frames strewn together. And I'm now going to say that I'm just going to keep the prompt the same of them starting to dance. I'm going to put this under high energy here or high motion. And we're now going to wait for this one to submit. So now it's going from a 5-second clip to a 9-second clip here. So as we're waiting for that one to develop, I'm going to come back down here to where some man walks in the forest. So we have this first transition where this clip actually won't be usable. This won't be usable with the second one that we've created because it started with that first shot and turns that thing in the background into a monster, whereas that's not what's happening here. So if I really loved, let's say I just fell in love with the shot of him going from one section of the garden to the next, I could do the extend manually again, but then add the ending frame being that still picture of the monster down here. So I'm going to scroll down to where the monster is down here and put it in here. And now it's going to be a different transition. Now the monster is not going to be created from that first frame where it's behind him. It's now going to be created in a new way. We don't really know what it's going to do, but we know that him walking through the garden turned into, let me see if I can come back here and find it, him coming in and walking into the garden in this beginning. See how the monster is there's not really a monster there. He's just walking into the garden. It's justified that way. So when we go through and we do an extend manually to this clip by clicking extend manually and then adding in that shot that we've already created, it now is going to meets a monster and starts dancing. Okay, so if I go ahead and I put this here, it's now going to add on to the 5 seconds that we've already created and is going to create the next level thing here. Okay, this one already justified, if you remember the shot from before, already justified the monster coming from behind. And what we did was we extended this and we wanted them to dance. So now, just with the text prompt of them dancing at the end here, this extension right here, they're not really dancing, they're like shuffling, but what can you expect two random dudes in a forest to actually be doing here? So we can see how it's transitioning into that. And again, it's coming from behind, it's transitioning and then doing this manual extension that's based on a text prompt, not on a second or third frame. And as we wait for this one here, we're going to be able to see what the alternative version of this is, where he's walking from one entrance of the garden into a different part of the garden, and now the monster masterfully appears. I don't know if he's going to dance or not. There may not be enough time, but we're going to see a different option for being able to do that. Now, we get to make some creative decisions. Like one of the cool things about MidJourney here is you can see all of these clips running at the same time to see if there's a particular one that you like more. It makes it very easy for finding the frame that you want to move forward with. Sometimes if you do extend auto, it's going to make its own decisions of what it thinks you should be doing. And sometimes it can do some really interesting and weird work when it does that. Okay, so let's now see here. Now we can see he's walking into the second part of the garden. Oh, what happened? We're gonna have to reload this here. He's walking into a second part of the garden. He takes a little pause here, and this is where the extension is happening. And he is now, notice her, there's that transition there. That's how it's being justified, was like a fade into a secondary environment. So now he's walking, and now it's magically appearing in the back end, which is not as clean of a transition, of course. So we're looking for those things of like, how are the transitions happening? I think the fade in actually is nice because it's not so abrupt and or looks so weird. So sometimes this is a little bit choppy here. But as you're seeing, is it's like fading into the next thing. So you have to ask yourself the question, like, with this walking into the garden thing and it fading into a secondary sort of scenario like this one, do we like that? It's a stylistic choice. Or do we like this idea down here of this monster coming in from behind and then going into a second environment this way? So he's missing out on that first part of walking into the garden by himself, and he's instantly panning into a secondary environment. The camera is shifting over into where the final scene is. So which one's right or wrong? It's really stylistically a preference. Like, honestly, I really like the entry part of him walking into the garden a little bit before he meets us. So I'm not mad at him showing up and doing this. It's a music video. I may not care that much. So I'm going to go ahead and keep rolling with this one. Now I have some decisions. I could stop right here and download it and put this clip in, or I could keep the extension going with where the next scene is going to go. But note, it is going to have to justify where the monster is going to go with the next sort of scene. So if I click on this and I come over here to extend manual, and I want to put an ending frame here that's in a new environment, I'm going to scroll down here and see if I can figure out where I want this next environment to be. Maybe he's going to be by himself. Maybe he is going to, let me see where the other environments are that he has to choose from in this moment. Okay, maybe he's going to be walking into this really cool place by this haunted looking lake thing. And then we also could be having him walk further into the forest too. So we talked about him now walking solo here. So this actually could be the ending frame here. And so I'm going to say a man walks in mossy forest. I'm just going to keep it super simple. And monster disappears with a poof. Let's just see what happens. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but this is the joy of playing with this. So we'll see here what happens. The next thing that I want to do is maybe just not talk about the monster and just say walks through a mossy forest and see what happens there. I'm just going to let those cook. And then I'm also going to, let's see here, take the same one that is here with the monster. And I'm actually going to do a manual extension with this one with just a text prompt just to see what happens. So man walks in a mossy forest, meets a monster and starts dancing. Now I can just say what I want the monster to do. So the monster disappears with a poof and a bunch of gold dust explodes and he's gone. Okay. We're going to go ahead and hit enter here and just see if it can follow that instruction. I'm waiting for the other two where we're giving the final scene of him walking from where the monster is into then the forest to get that transition there. So let's see what happens. Okay, so this is just walking into the forest. The monster is going to show up for this one, but it is going to be disappearing without there being any justification. He's just like walking backwards. Okay, that's fun. That's different. So we're going to go to the next one and see how this one justifies what happens to the monster. We like again, we don't make any reference to the monster in this, even though we've extended this, and now it's going to go, okay, monsters. Almost looks like they're in a movie and it's like the monsters walked in at the wrong time and is, oh, it's not time for my scene yet. It's kind of how it feels, which is ridiculous. And then walking backwards here. So obviously not mentioning what happens to the monster is not really working in any of these scenes, but fun to see how it justifies going from this one scene where the monster is underneath this sort of archway and then how it justifies, oh, this broke up it. Oh, wow. So there's all kinds of fun, weird, super psychedelic things that are happening in the background there. Okay. So that's one. Okay. So this one says that the monster disappears with a poof. So let's go ahead and see. And it says a bunch of gold dust and explodes. So when he comes here, let's see if that happens. There. All right. Okay. So listen here. Did it do the best sort of interaction? Maybe not. Is it interesting to see? It's just the level of control that you have. It's almost like creating your own video game, which I find to be so interesting and creatively inspiring just to get them to do anything and see what happens. And sometimes these things don't work, but it did justify what was happening with the actual monster. If you can think about it, is that there is this explosion. It's just like, what is happening here? But pretty funny to see what the justification is here. Now, this one is the monster disappears in a poof. So we didn't specifically say blows up into a dust sort of storm here or whatever. It just goes, oh, they're both just walking and it is transitioning into something else. So we'll see what happens here. And so now he's going to disappear. Oh, it's running off screen. Okay. So, what should you be getting from this? What you should be getting from this is that there needs to be justifications for what your characters are doing from scene to scene and thinking about that as you're extending something, what you want them to do. And maybe it would make sense with this character that one, if we don't plan on doing anything with the monster, that we're not having him in the scene because it's creating confusion or whatever, or we're going to give something a simple sort of we're going to give some sort of simple justification of what happens at the end of the scene. Just like here, he's like dancing or whatever. They're like dancing. So maybe if we're going to go to the second scene, that there's going to be some sort of reason for him to disappear. Maybe he is going to squish and he's going to melt into the ground and go back into moss. Or maybe he's going to turn into a tornado and zip out of there. Or maybe he's going to, yeah, some other form of disappearing. Or maybe they're going to continue going together. And you just have to remember that whatever that end shot is in justification, if let's say we wanted them to go to a spooky lake together, let me see if I can find the original one where it was walking from here. So remember this original scene here is he's walking into a second part of the garden, which I love. And then there is no monster in this one. He's just walking into a second part of the garden. So I could avoid using that secondary shot with the monster at all and just having him continue going. So I could do an extend manual and have the ending frame be him in a different environment. And just for the sake of doing something totally different, maybe we're gonna justify him being in this lake right here. And so we're gonna say walks, he's already in a mossy forest, walks into a lake, and we'll go ahead and generate that one here. I'm going to go back and see if we can find the original extension of when it was walking into two areas of the thing where it was justified going into. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, like this one where he was, yeah, he's coming from behind though. I'm not looking for that one. I'm looking for where he's going into the second part of the garden and then it's justified with the monster showing up right here. So this scene I really like. So what happens if I want to keep the monster in here, but I want to extend it going to the lake here? So I could just say, man walks past the monster or shakes his hand or something. Or maybe monster gives man a bag of gold. Man walks into a lake. Okay. what is the justification here? So I'm going to go through and find the lake I want him to walk into. And I'm just going to see if I can, I'm going to just throw a different image in here for the sake of fun. And we're going to see here how it's going to justify him walking by, maybe getting this, and how it's transitioning over into the next thing. So we already know how the puff of dust works. So let's see how this works. So he's walking into the second part of the garden. He's now having that transition. Oh, this is the one where he's walking directly into the lake. Okay. So he's like turning around and instantly now in this. And this should show you that, like, sometimes when you have two different environments, when there isn't transitional shots in between them, you could be spending time using Omni reference to be creating some sort of in-between shot where it's an aerial perspective, where it's going from forest to zooming out to showing a lake to then showing him walking into it. But it is interesting to see how the AI thinks and how it justifies what it wants it to do. This was an extension of one of the videos that we did that didn't have the monster in it. So you can see what happens when you go from an environment abruptly into another environment. So in this one, which is almost done, we'll wait for that. Let's see here. This one's just the regular walking into the second part of that. And then he's going in and talking to the monster. And then these were the ones that were the weird justifications of the monster backing up, like he walked into a frame in a movie that he shouldn't have. And these are the ones where they walk into the lake. Okay, so let's just see here. So monster, so this is the longer shot. He's walking into the second garden here, or second part of the garden. It's now justified, where he's now has that great crossover where he's talking to the monster, and then both him and the monster go into the lake. And the way it justified where the monster went into the lake in this scene was it just made him fade into the background, which is interesting. So it actually showed the monster walking into the lake too, which I just love to see how this AI justifies what it's trying to do, because it's okay. Yeah, so it's so cool. It's so cool how it does this. Because if you think about, if you're trying to create a music video and you're trying to tell a story and you have these great scenes that you're thinking of and like how you're going to justify telling that story, that sometimes interim shots are not required. Okay. So let's just say we love one of these and we want to continue moving forward with this because it's cool. He's going from one part of the garden to the next. He like meets this crazy garden monster, and then the garden monster and him like walk into a lake. So let's just say we want to move forward with this. If I say that I want to, it's at 13 seconds right now. We can only do 4 manual extensions before it starts to fall apart, right? We've now justified that this monster is now standing next to him, but maybe that him standing next to him is going to be the way he's going to disappear, and we're just going to make this be whimsical like that. So I'm going to go ahead and come back here and make a decision of which one of these that I want to move forward with. I walk into the lake. I think it's this first one that I want to move forward with. So I'm going to go ahead and say use. And I'm now going to move this frame over here. And I'm going to change a different ending frame here. I don't want any more of the monster in there. I don't want any more extensions happening. I want to have control over where this lake situation is going. And maybe I want the next part of the lake to be coming to where he comes across a monster, or even though this is not the greatest monster, like it would be interesting to see what happens if he comes from here to standing here to seeing this. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that the man stands in lake and sees monster. And I'll go ahead and generate that one here. Okay, so we've had a little time to have this cook. Let's see here. Let's see if I can. Okay. So there was a couple different things that happened here. Number one, I ended up forgetting to put the second frame here, and I just literally had to go from the first frame to man stands in a lake and sees a monster. So this one had no continuation from it like basically ended with our man walks into a second part of a garden, meets a monster, walks into a lake situation. And then I started it from the man stands in a lake to the next thing. And I forgot to put an ending frame here. And I did some kind of funny, weird things. The first one is it just started with this still image right here. One of these. Maybe it was this one. And as it started, notice here that man stands in a lake and sees a monster was the prompt, and the results are ridiculous. It's actually quite exciting, to be honest with you. But the actual this is probably like the coolest monster out of all of them. Actually, if I was going to do a music video, I might keep this one because it's just so cool. This one's weird. This one's got some things going on that feel a little unnatural. And also, does this look like a real lake monster? Not really what I was thinking. I was thinking something more like Nessie, not a wildebeest werewolf or something. But I do think that this first one is got promise. And we do have up to 4 extensions with it. Even though I don't have ending frames to take it somewhere, I do have the ability to take this particular. I think I accidentally reran that. I do have some places I could take this. Let's say I want to have the man jump on the back of the monster and it flies into the sky or something weird. Okay, so I'm going to hit extend manually and I'm going to say man jumps on back of monster and flies into the sky. Okay, so I'll go ahead and run that. I'm going to have that be high. We're just going to see what happens. It's going to take the same monster and do it, which will be cool. These ones were really interesting because they did have an ending frame. So the end frame was this picture with a house in the background and this monster looking a little half, you can't really tell what it is. It an alligator? Is it a snake? Is it Nessie? We don't really know. So some of these justifications for what it was were weird, like almost like a weird thing on the back of something. The second one here was a little bit more easily justified, but notice how there's like this weird fading with the house coming into the shot. Whereas some of these other ones might have like more of a transporting type of feel, like he was transported into a new environment. And I think that transition feels a little bit more natural. This one's super crazy because he swims over to that, but the actual way that the monster is moving feels strange. So if I was going to really play with this, I might redo a few. It might be that the end shot is just not that great, right? Ooh, it looks like this flying monster thing is going to be really fun. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my shots with the actual Nessie style monster and see if we could get something better. Let me see here. So if I want to use the same exact prompt that I have set up from before, I can click use and it will put the character prompt back in here and it will put the exact prompt, not just the Omni reference with the image, but it will take all the settings. It'll bring it in. So night with armor, print walks through a misty haunted lake with huge green dinosaur in the water. So we can change this to a Nessie lake monster with a long neck. That might be just enough information to get it to understand what I'm trying to get it to do. You might be asking yourself, like, why not make this simpler or whatever? But I really want to show you the thought process that goes into how these creative projects can send you on a lot of different paths, and you have a lot of different options of decisions that you're going to make. And those decisions are the creative direction. Those decisions are what make this different than you posting just like a prompt in a video thing and just it magically making an entire movie for you. You get to be creative. You get to make decisions about what you want these characters to do, how you want them to interact, the story that you're going to have them tell, the music that you're going to set this to. And there's just so much creativity in that. And there's so much expression in that. Being able to piece things together to tell stories and piece things together to take yourself on an adventure, almost like a video game, but one that you have creative control over. which I think is really wild and really cool and unlike anything that the world has ever had until this moment when these things were a thing. This is really interesting little monster. These are getting more and more interesting here. It's doing some weird split shot things. So let's say this is aesthetically very cool. So I'm going to come back here and see if we can come back to this original prompt that was starting with just a still image here of this guy. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit use. And then I'm going to put in the secondary shot here and go, and then let's see here. I'm just going to make the monster cute and friendly. Let's just see what happens here with that. So I'm going to come back now to man jumps on the back of the monster and flies into the sky just to see how the AI justifies wings, right? The original thing didn't have wings, but now you can see it totally justified it. What it's doing, the man didn't end up jumping in the back of the monster with the first clip. With the second one, Edward from Twilight or something floats onto his back, which is interesting. But I do love that it has justified there to be wings here, right? And so even though in all three of these instances, the guy didn't quite make it on the back of the monster. This is where the extend prompt will take him where he's currently at and flip him over on the back. So again, this first scene with the wings coming up and him being right here, I think out of all four of them, the ones that I seen where he was just like in a weird angle or something, I'm going to go ahead and click extend manually and say jumps on the back of the monster and flies into the sky. It's the same exact prompt, but it's going to continue where it left off here to go to the next phase. And sometimes when these clip extensions are so short, you definitely want to be able to, when these extensions are so short, you want to be able to get to the purpose that you're trying to get to. And yeah, so that's happening. So that's one option. Now, this is really interesting because look at the justification for this monster, which is really fun. I really like the fact that he's just standing in the river and, oh, that's fun. I actually really like that he's slithering into, we won't look at the mechanics of how he's getting into the boat. Just bubbled up from the lake is also super cool. This actually makes more sense, either one of these ones. And let's see here, what else? This is also a 5-second clip, so we could be doing some extensions with this. So I could next, maybe if I want to use one of these, I'm going to try to find the one as I'm looking at all four that has the best transition. And I believe it's going to be one of these two in terms of having the proper physics, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. So I'm going to start here. Or actually, no, I'm going to extend manual. And I'm now going to say monster breathes fire on the man and he catches on fire and starts running around trying to put the fire out. Okay, I'm going to make this high motion. We're just going to see what's going to happen here. Okay, so we've created new pictures with new monsters because the other ones didn't work out that well. We've found this new interesting exchange between the man and this thing that's showing up in a boat. This one says the prompt deemed safe. The generated image may fall outside of our no fast hours will be charged here. So I'm going to go ahead and use this again. Sometimes if this happens, there's no sense in not running it again. So it seems like the jumping in the back of the monster thing wasn't working. Okay, so we're going to wait here for this. We can see that there's already some crazy fiery things happening. And this is what is so exciting about this is it's let your imagination run wild. Like I'm creating this on the fly. I had no plan when I came into this video. I just wanted to see what was going to happen when we found a random character and we decided to take it on an adventure. Look at the things that have happened. He went into a cool garden. He met a really crazy, weird moss monster. They went into a lake together. They found a dragon, different dragons, different types of monsters there were interactions with. We're probably only going to use one moving forward for the video. And we get to make a song with this. Now, usually I would do the song first, but because I want to show you how easy a song can be to make, and actually, the shorter the lyrics, the shorter the song, which is better because that means that the you don't have to be creating so many images and so many animations to get the music video to work or whatever. But here, okay, so what do we happen here? So monster breathes fire on the man. So this is the extension starting right here. And it looks as if fire was around him, but not exactly on him. So we're seeing what happens here. And so that's not really. And I'm also noticing that he does this little shiver before the monster shows up. I'm not seeing any fire coming from the actual monster. So I don't know if the AI is not understanding where the fire should go. It doesn't really seem to be working. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just use everything that we have set up here again, where I can say monster attacks man with scary teeth and fire. So we'll just see what happens here. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, the extended thing of the guy flying with the monster did end up producing, even after it said that it wouldn't. And so we can see here that he's now jumping up with this monster. They're now going into the sky. He is not on the back of the monster. He's just meeting him face to face, which, is not the direction that I saw this going. However, it's interesting. Could make for a cool music video, right? It just depends on what my preferences are. I'm just going through here to see this. It's a pretty cool shot. I think like this one's kind of a neat shot. And a lot of times you can get it to justify and it will do it. And we're exploring two different ideas here, right? We have one monster that kind of is charming and snake-like. And oh, yes, okay, cool. So remember I wanted it to blow fire in the previous scene and it wouldn't do it. And I was like, you know what? I might need to tell it that this thing needs to have scary teeth. This is working out to be much better, much more what I wanted. And it's not, here we have two monsters. And if I really like this one, there might be some sort of transition that I can do between the two to actually incorporate both of them into the video if I want to. So I'm just going to continue scrolling I'm checking out each one of the clips that was available. Okay, so this is coming back to the original monster one. And then we can see, so it did not do printed splashes in the water on his back. So it did not do the back situation. It did put him in some close-up shots, which are going to be useful at some point. There's some really great close-ups of his outfit, which is actually pretty neat. Okay, so we're going into the second half of this. This is working out to be the world's longest tutorial. But I really wanted you to see the experience of my thought process as I've gone through this and how I'm testing so many things quickly. I'm getting clips to be cooking while I'm working on other clips. Sometimes it's coming in the form of I understand where the shot is starting, and then the end frame, I know where the shot's going to end. That's what the purpose of first frame, last frame is. Sometimes I'm starting with one frame where it starts somewhere, it goes someplace unexpected. And instead of me ending it with a predetermined ending of it being in a different environment or knowing where the dude is going or whatever the character is, sometimes those extensions are taking us places where we don't know what the ending shot is going to be. Now, when you only have 4 extensions to do, you're going to run into a problem at some point of not creating that seamless connection between one environment and the next. So I wanted to give that to you as a little bit of a forewarning as I go into it so you can understand a little bit more deeply through repetition of what I'm going to be doing here. But I just wanted to share that with you before we dive back into this, because I know that this might feel like, wow, this is a lot. But at the same time, when you do it, you're going to have so much fun. And I just want you to see the thought process so that when you're going through this yourself, you know that you're not pigeonholed to just first frame, last frame. You're not stuck someplace if you do extensions and run out of extensions. The really cool thing about manual extend in MidJourney is when you can always be doing manual extensions with no end frame and then throw an end frame at the end for your final forward extension, which then becomes the first frame of your next series of frames. So I know it's kind of like math almost in your head, but you're going to see how I put this all together and it's going to make a lot more sense. So just keep sticking with me and we're going to continue on here. Okay. We're going to go ahead and start back here. Okay. So where we left off, this is day 2 that I'm filming this, by the way. One of the shots that I ended up putting together yesterday was starting with him floating in the air and then ending with it zooming in from one of those shots. So that is one transition that ended up working out well here. I do like this interaction actually a lot. So the monster's coming out, it's getting ready to fly up in the air. He's now flying with it. And then the final frame was one of these zoomed in ones, and he just backs up and leaves. So you can see here that the ending frame was this one right here, which is such a cool picture, so much detail. And it gives a justification. It goes back into water. It makes it look like he's in pudding or something. But cool. So that was number 1. And I'm using the arrow keys on the keyboard right now to go through each one of these. And sometimes it's hard for you to see when I'm transitioning between both of them because of the fact that they start off exactly the same way. So sometimes it looks like it's looping, but the reality is I'm actually going from one frame to the next here. And I'm just looking at the mechanics, the physics of it, what makes sense, which one I like. Sometimes things are going to be more jittery than others. Okay, let's see if it is going to do the jumping in the back. The other thing that you guys may not see when you're doing this on your own, this little video speed thing is a actual a Chrome plugin for me to speed up videos. So for some reason, when we were looking at this, it's a compilation of a bunch of different videos. So if you're wondering like what these little numbers are here, and you may not see them on your screen, that's what that is. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next one here and see if it does actually jumps on the back here. Let's see, is it going to work? It just really seems like it doesn't want to, but some of these ones where it goes up really high in the air, I'm not mad about it because it creates an interesting transition, and I'll tell you why. Let's just say that we're going to take this final one where it goes deep into the air. I'm going to X out of this. And I want to do an extended manual version of this one. So I could type in what I wanted it to do at this point. So I could say, man falls into the water, monster flies away. And notice here it's like a 13-second clip. So this is probably the final or one of the final extensions I could do before MidJourney is going to say no more extending. So I'm going to go say man falls into the water, monster flies away. So I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and generate that. We'll do high motion, and I'm going to go ahead and just let that roll. Okay. Now, my second idea for this is actually that he's going to fall into the water into another scene that we already have created. And we already have one where he falls, he comes looking close up this way, which we saw that transition. But we have some shots from way down here that are of him at the lake in different environments here. Like one of them is him standing on this cool brick thing. And we haven't actually done anything with that yet. So I'm just going to actually throw this into starting frame. Even though we're going to use it for ending frame, I'm going to actually pull it over here to ending frame. And then I'm going to come back over to the creation part of this here and just have this available for the end of this. So I'm just going to drag this in here and see if it will, because it is pulling it in with this little icon right here. I'm pretty sure that this is pulling this in as a video. We'll see if it is or not. If not, we'll have to go back and manually grab it. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking the video of the character jumping up into the sky with the flying weird wildebeest dragon looking thing. And then it's ending with him being on a stone path. And I'm very curious to see what the justification is going to be of this. So I was saying man drops into a stone path. And so it's going to justify it even if I didn't write that, just because it knows it has a start point and an end point, and so it's trying to get it there. Okay. So we're going to start off with man falls into the water and monster flies away. So this is the one that there is no ending scene. We're using the prompt with an extended manual to get it to do it. So he's now going up into the air. So now here comes the drop. Is he going to drop? Is he going to drop? Nope, just looks like the monster's flying away without him, and that there was some sort of splash at the end, but he didn't drop, so he's not really following directions here. So we're just going to keep going and see with this next one. Is he going to fall? Is he going to fall? Nope, nope, nope. So stayed in the monster's mouth here. And there is ways that we could be skipping forward, so not have to go through every single one. Oh, there we go. He fell. Finally. Okay, so that happened in scene, and I can actually forward here. So he's right here. And but what's weird is it seems like part of the monster came with him. So that's unfortunate. Let's see this last one here. We're gonna go ahead and fast forward here. Is he gonna fall? Is he gonna fall? Nope. Okay. So it seems like the only one that did the falling part was that second one. So whether or not we're going to use this or not, it's good that we have it in the arsenal to come back to. Okay. Now, this one, man jumps on the back and flies into the sky. We know from looking at these ones that didn't work. None of these actually, just even from seeing it here, not a single one did he jump on the back. So for whatever reason, MidJourney is having a hard time with that. Out of all of these four, there was only one that dropped. So if we didn't care that it looks like part of the head is coming out off with him, this could be the scene right here if that's what we wanted him to do. Okay, now this one is going to have that last frame situation. So we're going to see here how it's going to justify getting pulled up into the sky, and then how he's going to land in a situation where he's on a stone path here. All right, okay. So transitioned him in like a teleportation style thing where the beginnings of the actual stone path are coming here, and then he's flying off, and then it's zooming. So that's fun. I gotta say, I'm not mad at it. I think that transition is cool. Not exactly what I was expecting, but still, like in all of them, that's like the direction that the AI decided to go, was get it to teleport. For storytelling purposes, I gotta think about it. Do I want him to drop in the water, or do I want him to magically end up going and then the monster goes away? I think it feels cool. I think it feels a little bit more video game-ish, but it is really neat. And I think that maybe I do want to move forward with this. And one of the benefits of this happening, of him ending up on a path like that, is we do have that end shot. We do have this shot right here to now continue the story after the extensions have been had here. And I can now use that end frame as a starting frame and continue the story with more things going on, right? So maybe I want this guy now on the path to now continue to go to one of the other environments that we've created. And one of those other environments could be going into the garden and then going to the house, right? And we didn't really get a chance to use in the forest ones. And this one does have a stone path with it, and it does have the roses. So if I did want him to go from this one stone path into this stone path, and then maybe eventually end up in a home situation here or through a garden, we have a few more places that he could be encountering some cool, crazy things. So I'm going to make this have an ending path right here. So remember, we're going to be starting with this end path here. I'm just going to move this over, this ending image, and then we're going to have him land in this situation with the stone path in the forest here. So now we have a start frame, we have an end frame. Let's say man walks into forest. And I could keep it that simple, low energy, high energy. I'm going to go ahead and just keep it high, and we'll just see what happens there. And then the second thing, we'll just wait for that to cook. So this is why I talk about like getting something to cook and creating the next scene for it to cook. So if I click use, it's putting the same scenario here, and I can say that something else happens. So maybe he walks into the forest and sees a bunch of fairies. And sorry, fairies. I don't even know how to spell fairies. Okay. It sees a bunch of fairies. This is just giving a kind of a different scenario with the same first frame, same last frame, but the action that we're telling Midjourney to do is a little bit different here. So let's go ahead and see the justification without the fairies, how he's walking back into the forest. That's a pretty cool justification. I like that the stone path from that turned into the stone path of here. So you can see how I'm like trying to find continuity between images, even though those images were not even made together, how it creates a really cool following of him that way. And same sort of thing in each one. There's even this like weird symbolism thing that's coming up here. That one was really fast. So that kind of was two. He's walking backwards and then really fast. I don't really like that shot. And I don't really like this cross fade over shot. I really like these first two better. They worked out much, much, much better of turning around quickly, walking into the forest, and then ending up here. So super cool. I'm really digging that. Now I'm very curious to find out what the fairy version of this looks like. So now this is going to be the same situation, walking into the same end scene. There is no fairies, so it's not reading that it should be putting fairies in here or what even fairies should look like. But I will tell you that we don't have to give up our dream on that. This is actually pretty notorious for a first frame, last frame shot where we're not giving them any sort of visual of what we would like the fairies to look like. So we have a couple of choices here. One, we could go create a version where he's in the forest with fairies by going back to the image generation side of this and creating something that could have that, right? So we could come down here, find where the shot is in the actual forest, these still images that are in the forest. And I could do a version here where, let's say I'm going to, let's see if I can find it, use it again. All the same things here, walks into a haunted forest with a bunch of fairies around him. This is just a still image. And the other thing is that because I know I want it on a stone path, so there's that really clear transition, I could say Night Nor printed walks through a haunted forest on a stone path. Okay, so that's one way. The other way, but this is definitely going to change things compositionally quite a bit, is going to do something with starting from the scene, so walking from here, but we're going to get rid of the ending scene so that we're telling Midjourney to create the fairies from this first scene to the next scene. So I'm going to go ahead and use this here and say, man walks into the forest, yeah, with a bunch of glowing fairies. And I'm now going to get rid of the actual end frame because I want, and I'm totally misspelling fairies here. I want Midjourney to do its magic to create that magic of what that's going to look like. And so again, really neat here. So remember, we went and redid the still image and now created him in a path in the forest with those fairies that we want, which is cool. So we're now giving it, and I don't know what this cool random weird sign thing is that's showing up. It must be in the original character image or something. Is it? Let me see here if it's in there. Nope. That's so strange that this weird symbol keeps coming up, but I really like this image and it's kind of got some weird things going on here. So I'm going to go ahead and rerun this again with the original start image. I'm going to use the same one and have the ending image end up with a bunch of fairies around him. I like this one because it's got, yeah, I think it'll justify things in a similar way and it will end the frame here now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter and see how that fares. Okay, so while we're waiting here for that, this is now going to be justified. We're waiting for this to happen. Okay, so this is without the end frame justification. It's now taking him on an adventure, maybe more close to the house or something here. I don't see any fairies on this one. I'm going to go to the next one and see if we can fast forward here. Now it's coming, the fairies are coming in the form of something that looks like birds. Yeah, again, bird related and not exactly what we're looking for. We have, this is what I mean about sometimes the extended frames without an end frame are going to give you less creative control. And a lot of times when you generate something where you want to know where you want it to be going, there is definitely like a shift in obviously like time of day, those kinds of things. So this is obviously done very quickly. If we were going to spend a little bit more time on this, I would be focusing more on maybe creating more consistent light situations. But for a fun music video, we can see here that how it's justifying going from one into this could be a more magical sort of forest here. The fairies are following him here. I don't like the fact that he's walking backwards compared to some of the other transitions that happened. And that could happen with some direction in the actual prompt itself. So if I reran this again and I say man spins around and walks into forest, that might help. Just the same way that we saw with the monster that I was giving the direction of blowing fire on him and then him catching on fire, that I had to say like shows scary teeth and then does that. So there can be some justifications for that. And then also I could do the same thing again and say, it's still going to end it in the same frame. So this is actually what's deciding on the tone color. And I'm really not that worried about it because it's not like it's bright day and like a bright time of day or something. And it could be the glow from the fairies that's creating a warmer light here. That could be some other justification. But it's just little things to notice. And again, for a quick music video for social media, like you really don't need to care that much about it. Okay. So now we have to think about like how we want this to go. And we're setting him up in a good place now. This is so cool. So in the previous ones, if we go back here and we look at these original ones, he walks backwards, right? And it doesn't, he's walking really fast, he's walking backwards. And this happened on multiple scenes. We can see here. Yeah, he was like walking backwards in some of these. But, oh, actually, okay. Let me go back here just a second. In many of these, with the exception of one, he was walking backwards, like maybe one of these two. And then when it says man spins around and walks with a bunch of glowing fairies this way. Okay, definitely not that one. I like that he's slowly walking in this one. So I think this is the one that we would move forward with. Okay, so yeah, I like how he like kicks around the things. There is a weird little, he's walking backwards in that one. He's walking too fast in that one. But it could be fine because of the, it's funny. So I have to ask myself, do I want to run this again or do I want to see which one is going to work? I'm hopping back and forth between each of these. And I do think that the first one might be the one. He's walking into a different scenario. I am noticing though, which is unfortunate, that the natural movement from the stone and having it crossfade over isn't as natural as the clip that we had from before where he was walking directly in. See how it's justifying in there? I almost like this shot better without the fairies because of the justification and the roses and where he's going to be going. I'm just going to look at these really quick and see. I think it's this one. He just turns around, walks into it there. Let's try number two. Da, da, da. That one's kind of cool. Actually, that might be the one. That's the smoothest. That's by far the smoothest one I've seen. Okay. So I'm digging this one better than the fairy situation. The fairy ones just are not cutting it in terms of continuity, keeping things consistent. So now what I want to do is I want to actually use this and do an extend manually and have the ending frame. We're going to come back here to create and scroll down to where we're going to get our ending frame from one of these shots. And I think I'm going to have him go into a shot with the roses. So I think the one that makes the most sense is this one. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that one in here. And now where he's going to be walking and it's going to maintain him walking into the forest and then forest into here. So I'll say then man walks into garden. And we're ending this so that we don't spend 9 million hours on this video doing this. I would probably continue to play and have him go on more adventures. And it's not to say that we couldn't have some really fun things like there turns out to be a flower monster, because I think we should call the song Monster just to keep things on theme here. We'll end up moving this final frame over here and make the final frame of the whole entire video of him going home. And that is going to be either this shot, this shot. So I'm going to say the final shot here. And then we'll say man runs home. So I'm now going to actually take this full thing that's put together. We're going to go back one more time. We're going to go back to finding the original one here. So this is probably the one where he's like going into the forest, then walking into here. I really like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and extend this manual again and then have him run into the house situation here. So I'm going to go back and see if I can actually just click and drag it from another thing. So we can say man runs home. And yeah, let's go ahead and check out what some of these monster situations are. So this is like doing the full thing here. He walks into the forest, he's going around, he goes into a garden, and now he sees this crazy monster. So that's monster number one. Let's see what monster number two is. Okay. This is what we get for not describing what we want the monster to look like. All right, let's just see here. Then he becomes the monster fighting himself. I did say monster made of roses. And so since he's wearing roses, there it was probably like, okay. So I'm not really liking any of these, which is the reason why I decided that this was just gonna be I like this running through the garden thing. So okay, so I can see with this one, as he's coming into the forest, he's now taking a sharp right to him. I could now see him running into a different environment. So I'm going to see all the other ones are having him like run backwards, which I don't necessarily want. So I'm going to go ahead and click extend manually on this one and then have the ending frame be the actual picture of him in the garden. Actually, let me see if I can pull it out here. And so we'll go ahead and do high runs into a garden of roses. Okay, so we're going to see how that works here. I also wanted to show you this one where it says man runs home, where it takes him into the forest and then he decides he wants to there's a scene that ended with him in the garden and then he runs home. But the problem is he flips at the end to facing the camera, which is we ended up using the wrong ending shot. So I'm going to go ahead and use this and actually get rid of this ending shot and go back down here to the original still shot of him standing in front of the house where his back is turned away. And now we know that it's going to take that three different clips that are already melded together and get it to run through here. So now we're just waiting for this last one to cook right here. Okay. So I feel like put a stick in this video. It's done. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this as the final shot. I'm going to go ahead and download this one by clicking on the little download button. I'm going to go back to the time before this where he was getting chased by a monster onto the path. So if we scroll all the way down here back to when we were in the scene where the monster was flying off, flies away, and I can make this process go a little bit faster by looking at the first one that has the end shot here. So I now know that it's probably going to be one of these that he's going to fly up in the air and then it's going to come get him and he's going to be. So I kind of want to look at each of these individually. So that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and download that one. And this one actually started with the monster in the water. So we're going to go ahead and go back now to, if you remember, that scene is actually at the end after he's walking with the moss monster into the water. And we're going to find a way to incorporate this one in as well, just for fun. So that one's going to actually come before the monster one. But what I'm looking for is the completed scene. And I think we even saved it here underneath a folder. So if I go here under Rose Night, we have this finalized scene here. Let me see really quick if we saved it. So yeah, he meets the monster here. and then they walk into the water here. So we did save that one. I highly recommend if you're better at file management than I am to actually save those finalized scenes that you want. And now we have this like in between part where he meets the secondary kind of weird snake monster that ends up breathing fire on him. And so we're looking for that completed scene. So I'm just going to go through and see if we can find where that one is. And I believe it's going to be one of these where there's going to be a scary, fiery moment. Yep, it's one of these where the mouth opens. And he almost ends in the same spot. So it works. So I'm just gonna see which one I like the best here. We are gonna have to do an interim between one and the next. And it might be ending him exactly where he started out because he starts in the lake alone. He has this monster come up to him and then he can end in that same spot too. And then we can justify how the monster will disappear with that. And so we can see, I think that one's kind of fun. It's weird how he gets this weird shiver at the beginning. So that's a lot. So I think maybe this double fire one here might be the play. So this last shot I'm going to do is I'm going to do an extension. I'm just doing a quick. Yeah. We'll do an extend manual and we'll have the shot end with the same image that other we're having the other movie start on, which is, I'm pretty sure, see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure is this image. Yeah, it's this image. So I'm going to end it on the same frame because that one monster, one where he's flying, is going to do that. So I'm just not going to give it any prompt. I'm just going to have that ending frame there and we'll just see how it works. Okay. So now I'm just going to wait for that. That's going to create that perfect ending. So if we go and we look at the actual clips that we have downloaded so far, we have this one, and that's not right. Okay. So we have him starting in the garden. He is checking things out. He meets Mr. Moss Monster. He then goes into the lake. And then once he gets into the lake, there's two monsters he encounters, which is this one. We don't want to actually use this one yet. So that one will come after. This is going to be our final monster scene. The one we're waiting for, that's the interim, is this one. And so I'm going to go ahead and wait for a second for this to build. Now, with only 4 clips, you're thinking that's not very long, but you have to remember that these were clips that were extended. So even though there's 4 clips, it's probably like more like the equivalent of 8 or even 12 or something like that. We're just going to wait here for a quick second on this one. So he's starting here. This little snake monster is going to breathe some fire on him, and then he's handling it like a champ. But then he's just going over and standing in the water, and the monster's going away. So I'm actually going to fast forward to the end here just to see how those transitions work every time. And it's pretty similar. Yeah, so pretty similar in each of these. Kind of doesn't even matter which one we choose, actually. So if I look at them all at the same time as I'm looking at the difference, they're almost exactly the same. Maybe the timing is just a little bit different. And I'm just gonna fast forward here again really quick. I like how the boat just veers off to the right on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and download this one too. Okay, now we're ready to put this all together. And I'm gonna use a program called CapCut. You can use CapCut for free, which is super cool. If you get the pro version, there's some kind of fun things you can do with it. I'm just going to click create a project and I'm going to title this project Rose Night. Then I'm going to upload the image or the videos that I've downloaded here. So I've got clips for each of these. Now, mind you, even with these kind of being blurry in some aspects, it's not going to be that way in the final video because we're going to take it through Astra to sharpen it up. But what I can tell you is that we're going to start here with the actual night. We're going to move into the actual snake. We're then going to move into the secondary monster, and then we're going to go home. And as you can see, when all pieced together, the entire video is now 50 seconds, which is great. So we have to create a song. And we haven't done that yet with this being about this night or whatever. So I think the shorter the song, the better, because sometimes if we have like verses and choruses and bridges and all the things, this can really make for a long song. Okay. So I'm going to take the same style of the song that we had from the circus song. And I'm going to put that same style in here just for the sake of time. And I know that I like this style. I'm going to click on custom and paste in that style here. Let's see here. Da, 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 da. Instrumental. It doesn't say anything about circus in here. I was concerned about that. And I'm going to say that it's just going to be one verse and one chorus, and that's it. So the verse is going to be something like, I met a monster that scared me, so he looked like someone I used to know. I ran away. He wanted to play. How will I ever know where to go? And then I'm going to start with a chorus here. You're a monster, a big, scary monster. I don't like you very much. You're a monster, a big, freaky monster. Knowing you sucks. Okay. So that's the whole entire thing. And I'm going to go ahead and create. It's done in that same style. It's only going to take a few seconds to create. And it should sound pretty cool, even though the lyrics are dumb. But what I like about this is we're using the term monster throughout the whole entire thing, which is going to go really well with the vibe of the video.
I met a monster that scared me so. He looked like someone I used to know. I ran away. He wanted to play. How will I ever know where to go? You're a monster, a big scary monster. I don't like you very much. You're a monster, a big freaky monster. Knowing you kind of sucks.
Cool. I love that. Okay. It's exactly a minute long. This one's a minute 20. Let's see how this one goes. See how this one goes.
I met a monster that scared me so. He looked like someone I used to know. I ran away. He wanted to play. How will I ever know where to go? You're a monster, a big scary monster. I don't like you very much. You're a monster, a big freaky monster. Knowing you kind of sucks. Oh,
Okay, minute 20. Don't like this song as much as I like the first one. First one I think is amazing. So I'm just going to download this one and go to the download button and download the WAV file because I'm on Pro. It's going to take a second for it to cook up. And then I'm going to go ahead and click download file here. And then I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen for a second and say hello really quick. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the song that we've created into the video. And this is the most exciting part, you guys, because this is where we get to see all of our hard work put together with the music and see how it works. And usually I create the song in the beginning and then put the video on top of it. But this was fun because we made the video first and then we could write the song to the video. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this in. I love the fact that it was just a quick set of lyrics and one chorus so we could get it to jump right into it. And then of course, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and upscale this in Astra afterwards, but let's go ahead and check out the video. Who's here is excited? I'm so excited. Okay, let's do this.
I met a monster that scared me so. He looked like someone I used to know. I ran away. He wanted to play. How will I ever know where to go? You're a monster, a big scary monster. I don't like you very much. You're a monster, a big freaky monster. No.
If we wanted to spend more time on this, which we don't because we've been doing this for way too long, we have all this song right here that we could go in and add in more content. I can also get it to fade at the end here so that it does that. I can also add in some text here so I can put in all of my credentials at the very end saying video by Jenna Sword. So I can come here, have this fade out. And then we have the whole entire thing set up. I can also have this beginning animation fade in. So if I come over here to the in section, it can do that. It can fade in, like simple fade in, and then maybe with the actual fade out part here. The other thing that I could do is you want to do fade out things here. So smoke out. So if I was going to do an upscale with Astra, what I would do here, I'm gonna have to export it and re-import it back in. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit export and just download this somewhere on my computer here. So I'm gonna create a new folder and call this Rose Night Video. I'm gonna go ahead and save this here. Go ahead and hit export. Okay, so now that we have our final cut laid out for the music video, I just want you to know that we didn't spend a whole lot of time adjusting the music to meet different points in the song. So there, you could spend some time doing that, and you're going to see in the final output, I did that a little bit. This is like a preference thing, and I don't want to spend too much more time on it. But by music, moving the music track around, cutting it up, having it fade in, fade out, you could bring different parts of the song in and do a simpler or do a modified version of the song to fit the video better. And I ended up doing that for the finalized one. So it ends up like ending on time and ends up having some of the high energy points of the song meet the high energy points of the video. So you're going to see that in the end. But really, it was just like adjusting, cutting up the song and moving it around to time with the video. The other thing that I did that I had to go back to the drawing board on was I ended up upscaling this in Astra with the creative mode. And what I figured out was the creative mode in Astra app, which is an upscaler, that's quite a bit less expensive than buying Topaz Video AI. Topaz Video AI is $299. The Astra app has a free trial where you can try out some credits on it. If you purchase it, you can pay anywhere between 20 and 60 bucks to get some credits to upload some videos. And when I was doing the creative upload, it would only do 15 seconds at a time. So having to piece together those clips, the bold creative decision that was made to create those clips, I ended up putting them together and it would create jittery in-betweens when the clips were being stitched together, which I didn't like. And it also sometimes changed his outfit. So I was like, I have to go back to the drawing board here and make this easier. So I ended up trying to do what we call just I'll see what the actual name of it is, but it's a regular upscale to 4K, which is awesome. And I could have done 1080. That would have been totally fine too, especially for like more of a fun social media project versus like a commercial project or something. And what you're going to see here is that I'm going to show you the process I did to upscale it with Astra app because it is the cheaper way of doing it versus Topaz. But at the end of this, you'll see the difference between the Topaz AI video $299 program versus Astra app, which is made by Topaz, which you just upload a video and then it sharpens the video. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that right here. And I didn't end up doing it live time because when you're working with something like Astra, the Astra app, see how it's taking this like very blurry video and then making it sharper. This is what Astra does. So what I ended up doing is, let me see if I can actually sign in here so we can, okay. So it kind of, did it sign me in? Yeah, it signed me in here. One thing that's going to happen is that the amount of credits that you're going to get for the trial is not going to be enough. So you may just want to upgrade to the regular service if you're trying to get a video project done and you're not waiting for the trial to come up. Because what I ended up doing is I ended up buying some credits and then all the credits that came with the membership came a few days later. So there might be a way to just go ahead and upgrade right away. That's first thing. Or you can buy credits and do it the way that I did it. But as you see here, when you browse your file, and let's say you're going to upload your video file here. Okay, so I've got my video file here that I want to upload. It's now going to ask about precise versus creative, speed versus quality. So if you remember, I told you I did creative and I did bold the first time, and I could only do 15-second chunks here. It wouldn't let me do the whole video. And so I believe that the best bang for your buck and where you're going to have the best results is by doing precise, doing quality, and either doing 1080 or 4K, depending on how many credits you want to spend. If you're on the trial, even if you did precise, quality, and 1080, you're probably going to have enough credits with the trial to do it. Actually, this is not marked for the whole, so maybe not. Actually, let me see if I can move this all the way over here. So 76 credits, yeah, it's probably not going to work for the trial. So once I did this, and you don't need to do a preview, I'm going to say it's going to work. It is going to upscale to something much better than what the output is for MidJourney. But what we want to see here is when the export happens, if I was to go ahead and hit render, it's going to do it. When I did this for the precise version, it took 2 hours. Okay, so I had to stop filming and come back here. So just to compare with Topaz Video AI, if you can see here, to do this here as if you buy the $299 version here, file and import here, selecting the actual video that you want to import here, and then going through and doing, let me see if I can come back to projects here. It's opening project. Even if you kept it the same resolution, but you just wanted faces to be enhanced and it to not be so blurry, you can just keep the output resolution the same. I love this Proteus general enhancement, or this one, sorry, Iris specialized enhancement for faces works really well. And so to get to this menu, you just have to turn on the enhancement button to get to this menu. And then you can adjust the settings here, recovery detail, however much you want to have it up. You can play with some of these things. And then you just hit export as and decide where you want it to go. So this took 6 minutes instead of 2 hours, which was nice, made me feel good about spending the $299. And I'm obviously not using credits when I'm running this locally. You need to have a pretty powerful computer to do this versus the Astra version. You can have a pretty weak computer because it's doing all of the processing on their servers. Okay, so this is going to be with the finalized version.
I met a monster that scared me so. I wanted to play. How will I ever know where to go? You're a monster, a big scary monster. I don't like you very much. You're a monster, a big freaky monster. Knowing you kind of sucks.
Upscaled version. So let's go ahead and see what this upscaled version, let me see if I downloaded it here. So if I go to my videos and then I show it here, if I play it here, you're going to see the before and after difference. So this is the after with the Astra app. It looks pretty decent if we compare side by side here with this one being the blurrier version and this one being the clearer version on the, I believe, on the right. Yeah, it's just going to be a little bit cleaner and sharper, especially when at a much higher, we can also see it this way too. That there's, oh yeah, so you can see like how it's got noise, and then you come over here and how smooth it is on his outfit or whatever. So that's what Astra does. And if you're not looking to spend $300 on an upscaler, this is one way to do it where it still looks pretty decent. And so for me to download this one here, I can click the little download button here. The only mistake that I made with this one when I actually did the upscale was I ended up not wanting to pay for the upscaling of the end credit just because it's going to cost like a few extra credits for something that's just text on a screen. And I made the mistake of cutting it too short because while on the timeline, it looks like I did the whole video. I actually had to go into the title video to get that last scene. So with the Astra, it didn't exactly work for getting the whole video because I timed it wrong on the actual timeline. So just be aware of that. Bringing it in maybe without the final title line and bringing it back in if you want to and adjust the music and export it with CapCut. And notice how there's no music playing here. Oop, let's see if we can get the music to play here. Yeah, there's no music that plays with this one, so you'd have to go back and actually import it into CapCut anyway. But notice how smooth it is. Notice how clean it is. I would almost, let's see if we can actually see with some of the darkness in comparison. Excuse me. Okay, I'm just gonna see really quick here. This is actually where I'm worried about the face being too dark, but it looks like it's equally as dark. Let's see really quick here if it's equally as dark with. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, just for comparison, I'm curious. You know what's blowing my mind? It's blowing my mind right now that the fidelity of the actual suit is looking a little bit more real, but it's looking cleaner and smoother on this one. So I'm going to go back here just so we can compare apples to apples. So this could be a style preference. Actually, I downloaded this. Let me see if I can. Okay, so we're going to actually compare these at the same time. Interesting. I have to say that Astra beat this out in terms of smoothness. So what did we learn here? We learned here that that if we're going for just to compare here to the end, I guess we can't really compare to the final end scene here. Yeah, there seems to be, it's interesting because it's like there's more detail here, but then it's smoothed out here. So it's like, what is the preference to have? Let's just go back here and see if we can compare outfits. And so there is more detail and more richness, but also more noise. And then on this one, it's cleaner, but it looks more plasticky. And then see the details of this start to get a little bit, you can see the center part of this. So which one's better? Let's go all the way back to the beginning here and see. I almost feel like this is better. So the Astra is actually turning out to be better for sharpness. I'm a I'm a sucker for sharpness, which is not the reason why we're doing this. So let's see this one right here. It's like it's so detailed, but it's getting like a little muddled here. I wonder if with the settings within Topaz Video, if we could fine tune it even more with a different exporting situation. But see, we can see like a level of detail here that we can't really see here, but then it feels sharper. And then when we're looking at something on a phone, which the majority of these are going to be on a phone anyway, we're going to be looking at it like at a smaller scale. So let's see if we can see smaller scale together. So at a smaller scale, the detail kind of looks cooler here. So again, this is such a tricky preference game. But again, the point is that if you use Astra app, which is going to be way cheaper for you than paying the $2.99 for Topaz Video, you can think about the difference of what's more important to you for a project. And obviously, using those credits for Astra app is going to add up quite a bit. So if you plan on doing videos like this on a regular basis, it might be worth it to you to invest in the Topaz Video app here. So interesting to see the difference in how they're actually executed out with sharpness, and there's still being some sort of grittiness here. I think we're going to just move forward with this one because it's pretty much done, which is cool. And yeah, so this will be shown at the end of the video here. But wild. Okay, so that brings our lesson to a close. It was a long one, but a total A to Z in-depth dive on how to create a music video with Suno, with creating things with MidJourney Video, putting it all together in CapCut, and upscaling in either Astra or Topaz Video. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. If you're curious about what we do here at the Secret AI Society, we teach people how to use creativity in their business so that they can generate leads and sales with the power of AI. And this happens through AI branding and all kinds of things. So if you love this, was for fun, right? So imagine being able to do projects like this that actually lead to leads and sales. That is what the Secret AI Society does, is helps people understand how to become the creative director of their own brand, be able to do super creative advertising, be able to do super creative social posts, Facebook ads, websites that are jaw-dropping. If you want a brand that generates leads and sales with creativity, that's what we teach. Today was just for fun, though. So this is the kind of project that you could do just for the heck of it. Really fun for social content, really fun for expression. How freaking amazing was that song with the dumbest lyrics ever? And it made for a really cool, interesting video. I had no idea where it was going to go. I was created this whole entire thing on the fly. There was no prep ahead of time. I wanted you guys to see what it was going to take to go from A to Z, how fun and how easy and how experimental and how creative it can be. I would love to see what you're creating. If you can go through this lesson, you can ask us questions in the comments below. If you put together something and you want to link up your YouTube video or a link someplace else, we would love to feature what you did in a future video if we see some cool things that, would be fun to feature. So go ahead and let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe this video and subscribe to our channel for more fun updates like this. We're trying to do them weekly. Sometimes being a new mom, things get in the way. Like, for example, I had a solo parent last weekend because my husband is a rock star and went on a tour. So we try to get him as much as possible. I feel like I overdid it on this version because we missed last week's videos. I hope you enjoyed this. Oh, one more other thing. If you want to come and join the Secret AI Society, there's two ways that you can do that. There's two kind of levels that you can do that. Number one, if you just want to come get branding basics and just learn how to get logo, vibe, colors, all those things, we have a really fun $5 membership, okay? This $5 membership has a few mini courses, a few GPTs in it. You can discover two different paths in it for brand identity, learning how to become an AI creative freelancer over at secretaisociety.com. If you want our full curriculum where you learn brand photography, videos, you learn how to create freebies for your website to grow your email list, you learn how to create highly converting websites and do social content with a strategy and even paid ads, that whole system for creating a brand that converts, you can discover more information at secretaisociety.com/enroll. That's our full membership, and it is amazing. It has coaching that you can come get. You won't ever get stuck. It's our higher level premium membership. So that's what I have for you in today's lesson. We cannot wait to see what you've created. My name is Jenna Sword with secretaisociety.com/enroll if you want to come join us, and we'll see you in the next video.